Good evening, all of you. Welcome to English online classes. So today's topic is The Cold Within. This is a poem and it's a part of your syllabus. So today we are going to discuss this poem. This poem has 8 stanzas, and this is a very interesting poem with a deep meaning, in which the poet tries to show the reality of human beings, that what human beings actually are and how they create difference on the basis of color, caste, creed, language, community. So this poem highlights the discrimination that the people do on the basis of different factors. Good evening, all of you. Shubhi, good evening, Aditi, Janvi, Charu. So, as I was telling you, this poem is about the harsh reality of a human being, that how the people, create differences among themselves on the basis of color, religion, caste, language, etc. So, this poem shows the issue, it highlights the issue of discrimination, the cold within. So the title justifies yes, internal selfishness. Title of the poem, The Cold Within, tells us about the hearts of the people that have become cold inside. Irish American poet James Patrick Kinney uses his poetic parable, The Cold Within. पैरेबल क्या होता है? पैरेबल एक टर्म यूज़ किया जाता है फॉर द पोइट्री एज वेल एज फॉर द स्टोरी इन विच देर इज़ अ हिडन मॉरल. सो दिस इज़ अ पैरेबल इन द फॉर्म ऑफ अ पोइट्री, द कोल्ड विदिन, टू illustrate the folly of falling prey to discrimination that short changes our own perceptions. This poem has 8 stanzas with an approximate ABCB end rhyme scheme. Cold Within chapter is there in your syllabus. Just go through the syllabus of class 9th. Cold Within is there. Yes, obviously. Cold Within is there, it is a part of your syllabus. Now there are 8 stanzas in the poem. The first stanza, if you people have book, just go through, I am reading. Stanza 1 begins here. 6 humans trapped by happenstance in bleak and bitter cold. 6 लोग ट्रैप हो चुके हैं by happenstance में इत्तेफाक से, in a bleak and bitter cold. The weather is very cold and 6 human beings have been trapped. Each one possessed a stick of wood, और सबके पास एक एक stick है. Or so the story is told. We open up to a bleak tableau. The poet recounts a tale he has heard a 6 persons got together in the grip of the severe winter. Each of them probably had a single stick of wood. तो सबके पास एक एक stick है. There are 6 people who get trapped in the bitter cold and everybody is holding one stick. And it's a chilly weather outside. Note the poet's use of the word humans. He wants to draw attention to the gathering as specific individuals rather than a collective group. So here in the first stanza, poet has purposely used the term humans. Why? Because this poem is based on discrimination, and every person has different kind of a mindset. Every person discriminates on the basis of his own thinking. That is why the term humans have been used instead of a group. अगर ये क्वेश्चन आता है एग्जाम में कि why the poet has not used the word group, why he has used humans, so you can write the answer that this poem tells us about the discrimination and each person has his own thinking towards discrimination. Okay. The poet's use of the word humans, he wants to draw attention to the gathering as specific individuals rather than as a collective group. They were trapped happenstance. Happenstance means by chance, ittifaq se, implying no escape from the situation created by chance. So they did not have any, option to be escaped from that chilly weather. The adjective dark and bitter describing the cold add to the ominous feeling. So here the words like dark and bitter have been used. Why? Because it adds an ominous feeling, the dull feeling that is present in the scenario. So this was stanza 1, an introduction of the poem. Understood? Yes or no? The introduction was quite simple. Introduction में बस थोड़ी सी चीज़ बताई गई है that 6 people were trapped. It was a winter season. The poet has purposely used the term people, not a group. Okay, and each of them is holding a stick. Okay, so stanza 1 was quite simple. Now moving on to stanza 2. They're dying fire in need of logs. और 6 के 6 सर्कल में बैठे हैं और उन सर्कल में बीच में आग जल रही है. बेटा हैपेंस्टेंस का मतलब बताया तो मैंने. हैपेंस्टेंस मीन्स बाय चांस, इत्तेफाक से फंस चुके हैं, ट्रैप हो चुके हैं विंटर सीजन में. Now stanza 2 says, they're dying fire in need of logs. The first man held his back. Now what happens here? They all are sitting in a circle, and in the middle of the circle, the fire is being burnt. और सर्दी की वजह से वो आग धीमे धीमे extinguish हो रही है. The fire is being extinguished slowly and gradually because of the winter season. And that fire needs logs. और सबके पास एक एक log है. Now here what happens? The first man held his back, for of the faces round the fire he noticed one was black. The first man held his back. जो पहला आदमी है यहाँ पर, उसने क्या किया? He held his back for the faces round the fire. He noticed one person among those 6 people was a black one. You can say an African. The second stanza cuts into a key character in the story, the dying fire. अब यहाँ पर poet ने word use किया, the dying fire means slowly and gradually because of the chilly weather the fire is being extinguished and the fire is dying. And that point of time the fire requires a piece of log. The group's prospects do not look good. Now every person who is sitting there in a circle has his own level of perception. In the heart of winter, keeping warm is critical to survival. So in winter season, how a person can survive? By keeping himself warm. Okay, the fire offers a chance for salvation if each person would use their respective logs to feed it. The dying fire is silent appeal to the group to help themselves by helping each other. Now here the dying fire is requesting, is pleading to those 6 rigid mindset people that if they want to protect themselves from that cold winter, they should use their logs to make the fire burn for a long period of time, then only they can survive. So the dying fire is an appeal, is a silent appeal by the nature, so that the people can use, each person can use their own log to make the fire burn for a very long period of time, and then only they can survive and they can help each other. The next verse reveals how the situation unfolds. We find that the first person withheld his log from the fire only because it would benefit a black person. अब पहला जो पर्सन था उसके पास लॉक थी, सबके पास लॉक थी, पहले पर्सन के पास भी लॉक थी, लेकिन उसने उस टाइम क्या सोचा, उसने कहा कि मैं अपनी लॉग को आग में नहीं डालूँगा. I will not use my log to burn this fire because it would benefit a black person. So the first person was obviously white in color. Maybe he was an American, maybe he was a Spanish, or belonging to any country where the people are white. So here he has created a racial discrimination on the basis of color. He thought, I will not use my log because it will benefit the black person. This is racism, where there is discrimination because of person's race. The man will not even warm himself if someone he looks down upon simply because of skin color will gain. So this is the mentality that has been shown, that has been highlighted, that has been showcased by the poet through this poem in stanza 2. The white person who was holding a log, he thought that why should I waste my log, because if I'll use this log to burn the fire, to keep on burning this fire, it will benefit the black person. So he created a racial discrimination and he dropped his idea. Though he was shivering with cold, everybody was shivering with cold, but nobody is ready to help each other. So in the second stanza, racial discrimination has been highlighted by the first person. Have you people understood second stanza, yes or no? सेकेंड स्टैंजा समझ में आया तो प्लीज़ एक्नॉलेज मी बाय शोइंग थम्स अप. See, this is a very simple poem, very easy to understand, but it has a very deep meaning. Now coming on to stanza 3. The next man, he is the second person. Next man, looking across the way, saw one not of his church and couldn't bring himself to give the fire a stick of birch. Now another man, what happened with another man? We move on. The second person looked across the fire, and as I told you, the fire was being extinguished slowly and gradually because of the chilly weather. Now the second person looked around. He was also shivering with cold. He looked across the fire and saw someone who he knew didn't share his religious ideology. Now the second person looked around and he recognized one of the people sitting there, and he thought that particular person does not belong to my religion. Means second person was Christian. And he said to himself that this particular person, pointing to a particular person in mind only, he said that this particular person doesn't go to church. It means he doesn't belong to my religion, he doesn't belong to my community. Then why the hell should I waste my log? If I'll burn my log, it will benefit that person who doesn't belong to my community, and it will be the waste of my log, the waste of my time. So here in this third stanza, the poet has highlighted that how the people differentiate on the basis of religion. First person discriminated on the basis of color. Second person discriminated on the basis of religion, and saw someone who he didn't share his religious ideology, and just because of that he can't bear to give up his log to the communal fire. This is bigotry, which speaks of intolerance to a person because they do not share the same opinion or ideas. Bigotry क्या होता है? Bigotry is a kind of a situation where two or more people do not share a common opinion or ideas. So the second person discriminated here on the basis of religion. Understood? Yes or no? Any doubt? If you people have understood, please acknowledge me. If you have any doubt, please ask. Okay, good. Stanza 4. The third one sat in a tattered clothes. Tattered मतलब फटे हुए कपड़े पहने बैठा था. He was also shivering with fear, with winter, with cold, sorry. As everybody was shivering. The third one sat in tattered clothes. He gave his coat a hitch. उसने कोट अपना थोड़ा और ऊपर किया in order to cover his ears. Why should his log be put to use to warm the idle rich? Now the third person who was holding that log, he looked around and he saw one person who was quite rich. And the person who was there in tattered clothes means he was poor, financially not well. And he thought in his mind that why should I waste my log of wood in order to benefit the rich person? Because he created an ideology in his mind that rich people are all same. They do not help the poor people. So when the rich person is stuck in that catastrophic situation, then why the hell that poor person is going to help? So he created discrimination on the basis of financial health. The focus now shifts. Here is a person who seems poor. His tattered, old and torn clothes in the cold weather hint as poverty. He perhaps felt the cold more than others. जाहिर सी बात है, फटे चिथड़े कपड़े पहने बैठा था तो उसको सर्दी ज़्यादा लग रही थी. And he was poor. He perhaps felt the cold more than the others, as we notice that he gave his coat a hitch, adjusting it closer to his body to dry out some warmth from the inadequate clothing. But here too is a dead end. We see that he is a victim of classicism or discrimination based on social or economic class. Considering those favorably placed than him to be idle, he is defensive in his eyes. The rich do not deserve his meager ration, and he will not part with his stick. So here the third person who was poor, was not financially well, he thought in his mind that why should I waste my log in order to benefit the rich person, because the rich people never ever help the poor people. That was his mindset. So that is why it was a dead end again, and the third person also did not put his log into that fire. Now we have seen three examples here. The first person created discrimination on the basis of color. Second person created discrimination on the basis of religion, and the third person created discrimination on the basis of class, that is known as classicism. लेकिन कंक्लूजन यही निकल के आ रहा था कि बिकॉज ऑफ द रिजिड माइंडसेट they were not protecting themselves, they were forcing themselves towards death just by their selfish attitude. Understood? Yes or no? Have you understood the fourth stanza? Okay, good. Now coming on to fifth stanza. The rich man just sat back and thought of the wealth he had in store and how to keep what he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. Now the same kind of ideology rich man had. He thought that he had earned so much of wealth in the past. He had earned a lot from the lazy, shiftless, poor people, those who work for the rich people. Now when he has earned a lot, then why should he waste his log of wood for the poor people? Now here the stanza says, at cross purpose we find the next exhibit of apathy, the rich man. Caught up hoarding his riches in his head, he is obvious to reality. Greed blinds him as he selfishly convinces to keep his wealth. यहाँ पर उसके दिमाग में एक लालच आती है. उसने कहा मैं अपनी लॉ क्यों वेस्ट करूँ, मैंने तो इतनी मेहनत करी है पास्ट में. And because of that hard work as well as smart work and because of the poor people, those who work for me, I have earned a lot. Now he created a selfish kind of attitude. Then he thought that why should I waste my log of wood just for the sake of these poor people who are sitting next to me in a circle. Now here the greed blinds him as he selfishly convinces to keep his wealth. उसने कहा मैंने पूरी ज़िंदगी भर मेहनत करी है, अपनी वेल्थ को समेट करके हिफाजत से सेफली रखा है. And at that point of time that piece of log was his wealth. So that's why he thought that why should I waste this wealth even. He even miserably holds on to his stick, keeping it from the poor whom he perceives as aimless and lazy. उसने कहा why should I use this log of wood for the aimless and the lazy people like them? I will not use. So again there is a dead end. Now here the fourth person who was rich created a discrimination and again on the basis of class. 4 examples, same conclusion. First example, on the basis of color, discrimination on the basis of color. Second example, discrimination on the basis of religion. Third example, discrimination on the basis of class. And fourth example also on the basis of class. And the conclusion is same, that is dead end. Understood? Yes or no? Shall I continue? Okay, good. Stanza 6. The black man's face bespoke revenge as a fire passed from his sight, for all he saw in a stick of wood was a chance to spite the white. Now coming on to the fifth person, who was a black. Now the black person had the same ideology, the same mindset, the same thought process, the prejudiced nature, the rigid nature, and he thought that since birth, black people are always humiliated and dominated by the white people. We the black people have been tortured throughout our lives by the white people. And when at this point of time, when the white people got stuck in a catastrophic situation, then why the hell should I help them by putting my log in a fire? So again, that black man created a discrimination on the basis of inferiority complex. As he was black, उसने कहा कि हम लोग को तो हमेशा से सताया जाता है, एक्सप्लॉइट किया जाता है बाय द वाइट पीपल, तो आज मैं अपनी लॉग क्यों वेस्ट करूं? वाई शुड आई बेनिफिट द वाइट पीपल? इवन द विक्टिम बिकम्स एन अब्यूज़र हियर. ये वही विक्टिम है जो कि वाइट पर्सन ने उसके बारे में सोचा था. सो द ब्लैक पर्सन हु वॉज अ विक्टिम ऑफ वाइट पर्सन's आइडियोलॉजी here in this stanza becomes an abuser. We know the black person had experienced racism. Revenge for the atrocities he had faced from the white people was the only thing on his mind. One wonders if he had already resigned himself to dying. He saw the fire pass from the sight. Fire pass from the sight means देख रहा था कि आग धीरे धीरे बुझ रही है. But he purposely did not want to help the white person. He realized that the fire was fast getting spent. He realized that the fire was fast getting spent, but the spark of human kindness had died in him, and literally, too, he chose to let the group's fire die. He would perish. Perish means destroy. But he would take the others he hated down with him as well. उसने कहा मैं तो मरूंगा, कोई बात नहीं, लेकिन मैं किसी को जिंदा रहने भी नहीं दूंगा. If I die, I'll make other people die as well. But I'm not going to help the white people till my last breath. Understood? Yes or no? Okay, good. Stanza 7. 5 लोगों के बारे में यहाँ बात हो चुकी है. Every person has different kind of mindset, rigid thought process, but the conclusion is always same. वो लोग कांपे जा रहे हैं, ठंड में मरे जा रहे हैं, लेकिन कोई एक दूसरे की हेल्प नहीं करना चाहता. अब देखते हैं लास्ट पर्सन की क्या आइडियोलॉजी है. The last man of this forlorn group did not expect for gain, giving only to those who gave was how he played the game. Forlorn group का मतलब यहाँ पर है बिखरता हुआ ग्रुप. This is stanza 7. Forlorn group का मतलब है बिखरता हुआ ग्रुप, a tattered group. Now what is his ideology? For the first time in the poem, The Cold Within, the poet foreshadows the fate of the group. पहली बार पोएट ने इस पोएम में वर्ड यूज़ किया है ग्रुप. इससे पहले पोएट ने कभी भी ग्रुप यूज़ नहीं किया. जब आखिरी पर्सन की बारी आती है, पोएट हैज़ पर्पसली यूज द टर्म ग्रुप, and that too forlorn group, means a destroyed and decaying group. By finally describing the bunch of forlorn or hopeless group. This is the last person, the sixth person. Until then, the poet had reserved judgment, allowing the reader instead to examine each individual in turn and derive his or her own conclusion. Unfortunately, we find the last person also perpetuates the vicious circle of inertia. There is a word for this person's attitude, and it is not in the English language. That is me mile pinepetiya. It's not an English language, it's some other language. This word means indigenous South American language of the Yagan people. Any which ways. It refers to a look shared between people, where each hopes that the other will do something that all of them want, but none are willing to initiate. अच्छा यहाँ पर सिक्स्थ पर्सन जो था उसकी ये आइडियोलॉजी थी कि पहल मैं क्यों करूँ पहले. Why should I become the first person to help? He was actually waiting for someone else to put his log into the fire. So that was his ideology कि मैं पहले आगे बढ़ के क्यों काम करूँ. Why should I volunteer? Why should I take the first step? Let others take. I'll be the follower. Why should I be the leader? So that was the ideology, the thought process, the mindset of the sixth person. It refers to a look shared between people where each hopes that the others will do something that all of them want, but none are willing to initiate. ये वो लोग हैं जो समाज में बदलाव चाहते तो हैं. They want a change, but they don't want to be changed. Okay, they want a change in the society, but they do not want to be changed. तो सोसाइटी में बदलाव चाहते तो हैं लेकिन वो खुद चेंज नहीं होना चाहते. So this is the ideology, this is the mindset of the sixth person. That is why he was not willing to initiate, to start. In giving just to get, the last person played a losing move in the game, a metaphor for the game of life. Have you understood the ideology of this sixth person? Yes or no? Okay, good. Stanza 8 में क्या है? The logs held tight in death's still hand was proof of human sin. They didn't die from the cold without, they died from the cold within. और धीरे धीरे क्या होता है? Temperature fell down. Finally the fire extinguished. People who were shivering with cold, all the 6 people died with their logs in their stiff hands. And the poet in the last 2 lines says a very wonderful thing, that they did not die from the cold without. बाहर के टेम्परेचर की वजह से नहीं मरे, but they died from the cold within because their hearts were cold. That's why they died. We witness the grim aftermath of the group's rigidity of the spirit. Death comes and it is personified here with stilled hands. Death जो है यहाँ personified की जा रही, उनके हाथ अकड़ गए थे और उन 6 के 6 लोगों के हाथों में स्टिक थी. And they all died. Each individual became their own agent of death, their hands frozen stiff with the refusal to act. The fact that each of them still possessed with firewood when they died suggests the twisted motives in retaining their firewood, proof enough of sin. So this is an example of sin. They created a sin. The final lines abound with irony. Irony means sadness. We realize it was not the cold weather outside that really killed the group after all. It was a cold in the hearts, a lack of warm human spirits, the cold within. Understood? Yes or no? So how was the poem? Did you all like it? I suppose that everybody must have understood. Okay, after this class I'll be sending you the poetic devices and the figure of speech, okay, through wisdom group. Just go for it and just make a note. Yes, very nice. It has a bitter meaning, but the true like death. So after this class I'll be sending you the figure of speech that has been used in this poem, the poetic devices, each and everything, through the wisdom group. And if you feel any doubt, any query, any question, then you can ask me through that group only. Okay, so till then, take care. Thank you so much. I hope you liked the poem and understood. Theme of the story is theme of the poem, actually, not the story. Theme of the poem is the person is responsible just because of his own deeds, misdeeds. The person is responsible for putting himself in the difficult times just because of his own deeds. So till then, take care. Thank you so much. If you have any doubt, you can ask me through wisdom group. Okay, thank you so much, and please do not forget to subscribe our channel.